in blue. We need one of the, I think it's 11 by 11 little decor pieces they had from the Dollar Tree. We need the little wooden truck that had the Christmas tree in it. I'm going to use Waverly chalk paint and ink. The Waverly chalk paint, and 2 tumbling tower blocks. The Waverly chalk paint in white. Some glue gun, painter's tape. I'm trying to think what else we ended up using. Oh, paintbrushes, of course. And then I'm explaining to you here how I taped this out. I only went in a 1/2 inch and put my painter's tape all the way around and made a square. So we're going to frame out this little piece. And it's going to be so cute. It really wasn't that hard. I just took and measured 1/2 inch all the way around and a 1/2 inch from the corner, and then made corners with my little pencil and took the painter's tape and did it. And it was really easy. And we're going to start painting all the way around on the outside to make a border. And I sped up the video so we didn't have to sit and watch me paint forever. And I always like to try to do the edges of my projects. I know you probably wouldn't ever even be able to see it unless you yanked it down from the wall and, oh look, you didn't paint the edge. But yeah, it's like for things to be totally finished out. Oh, and I'm also going to use some of the crafting or packaging tape. Not packaging tape, sorry, packaging paper, the brown paper, to go over the back, because this glitter, y'all, this glitter was everywhere. Hence the reason I used that old placemat to try to keep some of the glitter off of my cutting mat. But my cutting mat is old. It's got warped over the years. And the greatest, and I looked up and found a smaller one the other day. Not from the Dollar Tree, of course, but my Dollar Tree don't carry those. Oh, and yes, look how nice this turns out on the border. Looks really good. Then I'm going to take and paint the inside of it white. And I'm debating on whether I want to use painter's tape to go back over, but I just end up freehanding it. You know, it's just as good freehanded. I mean, my lines might have been a little more crisp, but I'm going to de-stress it anyway, so I think it'll be fine. Or I do think it's fine. I love the piece. I love the project and how it turned out, so. Get it all, you know, I go in with this brush, the big little, well, it's still a small brush, but the bigger small brush that I have, and then get the most of the inside covered, and I only do one coat of the ink, and I do one coat of the white. I was really surprised that the white looked as good as it did after one coat. And then with de-stressing, I didn't feel like I needed to go back in with another coat. And the edge of this paintbrush is frayed, so I just clipped it off. And then here I'm going all the way around the edge and making it look really nice. And I'm taking the white chalk paint and then kind of distressing around the frame. I get a little heavy-handed. You can see what a big blob I put on it right there. But the nice thing with distressing is you can always go back in with your base color and kind of touch it up or fix where you got heavy-handed. Having to get another paintbrush, sorry guys. And go back in with the ink chalk paint. And I was lucky the other day and found the bigger thing in the ink from Walmart. I was really shocked. Kind of trying to get my distressing look the way I wanted it to. Well, I think I forgot to take and show y'all what the front of this looked like before we put the, but you'll see it later on in the video of what the front of this one looked like. I think it says a cute little saying about everything nice or something like that. And here I've took turquoise and the acrylic paint and crystal and the Waverly chalk paint and mixing those two together to come up with this really pretty blue, this light blue. And also I wanted to tell y'all guys, right up there at the windshield part, there was a little notch, and somehow or another the 5-year-old was out here with me the other day crafting or playing with it or something. I don't know. Anyway, it got dropped and broke. So I just cut that on off with a little sharp knife and took a sanding block and sanded it down. You can't even tell it was there. I mean, I wished I would have done the front of it, but I probably would have messed it up. So it's okay. It looks just as good without it. And then I'm taking the lighter color. It's crystal, I think is what that one's called. And the Waverly chalk paint. And kind of distressing, blending, trying to get it looking the way I want it. Now I'm taking the ink chalk paint and going over the tires. And get those all nice and painted. And I, for the life of me, could not think of anything to put down in the center to make because to me it didn't look right without a hubcap. So I just ended up freehanding with that. It's like a little chalk marker that I had found at the Dollar Tree. Just freehanded that. And I end up going back in with, I think, a paintbrush and some gray paint that I mixed up from white and just ink. Just put those two together and made a tone of gray that I liked. Ended up getting And it ends up mixing, making like a gray color on my marker. So I'm trying to get some of that off. And go back in with the paintbrush. And y'all, I'm so impatient. I'm sitting here moving this around, and I think I end up getting my thumb in the paint. So, but I'll go back in a second and fix that. And then when that lighter color blue dried, it didn't dry. It like dried really like a darker blue. So I'm just kind of going back over it to see if I can lighten it up a little bit to maybe give it a snowy look. I probably should have went in with some of the white and made it look snowy, but that's okay. Can always do that later. And I moved my camera, guys, to try to get a better angle, like sitting in front of me, and it was not a good, yeah. I'm sitting here with it up on the tripod trying to do this. I don't know if anybody else works this way, but no, it was not having it. I'm a very small woman. I'm only 5 foot tall, so, and my little short arms could not reach around the front of that. Sorry for the bad angle, guys. But all I did was take the darker paint that we'd mixed up, the blue, and kind of go back around on my frame and tie in the blue from the truck to the frame. And I do that like in the center also, but I do not like it. You'll see what I do in a second. And there I've put that blue on. I'm thinking I'm ready to glue, but I'm not. I'm not done painting. And trying to find the placement. Oh, also on this tree, I trimmed down the back side of the tree to give it like a flatter surface so I could glue down. So here I'm taking some of the crystal chalk paint and a chippy brush that I had found in my stash and kind of blending out that blue to kind of mute it down some. Just popped way too much. And it ends up working out really good because, here I'm drying it with my little hair dryer. It ended up working out really good because the clings, the window clings that I end up putting on this, it blends in perfectly. And that hair dryer, y'all, I was cleaning out underneath the bathroom sink the other day and just so lucked up on that. It was like shoved in the back for years. I don't blow dry my hair anymore. So here we are hot gluing the brown craft paper to the back. It's pumpkin spice and everything nice. That's what the little picture says from the fall. What is now going to be the back. And take your hot glue. And I would work in small sections. It's much more manageable that way. I was trying to do in long sections, but yeah, the glue would get cooled down enough to where it wouldn't even adhere before I could even. So I'm taking my little paper towels and wiping it down to make it adhere really well so I don't burn my hand. Get that glued on. And I'm taking my X-Acto knife that I found at the Dollar Tree and trimming around the edge and making sure my craft paper looks really nice. And I'd cut it pretty close to size anyway. I just wanted to make sure I had a little extra to make sure it was. Okay, now we're ready to glue on our truck. And I end up gluing the tumbling tower blocks to the back of the truck and then gluing it down. And sorry guys, I'm out of frame again. And gluing on the little tree. And I think, trying to find my placement. And I think I want to leave a little of the bristles hanging down over the bed of the truck. I think that looks really nice. Also guys, and I did clip off the back side of the truck. I mean, not the truck, the back side of the tree, so it would fit down in the truck. And just kind of holding it down to let it adheres well to our project. And then I'm showing you the window clings that I used. And we used the one at the top that says Christmas trees. I think it says Farm Fresh Christmas trees. Sorry, I'm not in frame. But end up just deconstructing it, taking it and using those little pink detailing scissors that I found at the Dollar Tree and cutting it. Yeah, it says Farm Fresh Christmas trees. Cut the trees and all that apart. That way I can just put them where I want them. I clipped it down to just 2 trees so it fits on the door of the truck. And I take Mod Podge and I only do, I lay them where I want them, and then I do one at a time. That way, and I trim as close to the words as you possibly can. That way it's nice. And then that gray, that if y'all use these in a project, do factor in that these are, unless you're going to cut it down all the way and you don't see any of it, the backing of this is like a light gray color. So, like I said, the light blue kind of, yeah, you can't hardly tell it. I used a matte Mod Podge that I got from the Dollar Tree, and this little foam brush. And I take the Mod Podge and put me out a good little bit. And these worked really well with the Mod Podge. I was, really surprised, pleasantly, I can't even talk today, pleasantly surprised on how well they worked. And then I realized I'm not going to be able to get my placement right when it turned that way. So I turn it back the right way and lay it down. And you'll notice I pick it up and mess around with them a couple of times. And that's the thing I liked that with the Mod Podge, that you can pick it up, redo it if, within, of course, can't do it after it's dried, but I mean, and you definitely want to add a little bit more Mod Podge to it. But I mean, it gives you a little bit of a time to work with it. So I thought I'd try to adhere some on the back of this one, or put some on the back of this and not have to put it down, but that wasn't the way to go. And you'll notice too, I think that I rub these, or I found a better way to do it besides putting the brush, down and putting it to it. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get a glue string off. It worked much better if I took my finger, after I got the Mod Podge put on the bottom side and it adhered, take my finger and rub it down really well before I add the layer of Mod Podge on top. I think it looked a lot nicer when I did that. And also I was like, normally I would have swapped all these off to the side once I found the way, that they were all going to fit. And you see here, I'm picking that up. And then I would have had to try to find my placement again, but I was really proud of myself. I left them all on there and only did one at a time and made sure that each one was in the right place, because I've done that before on projects, using these once before, and made sure they all fit, made sure that all looked nice, then just took them all off and set them to the side. And then once I went back and went to do my project, I'm like, where did I want that to go? Or which way did I have that? Yeah, it was much better for me just to do it this way. So that one is over with. We got that project done. And here is the second little project, the smaller one of the two. This was an ornament that came in a pack of, I think it was 5 maybe. And this picture frame, came from the Dollartree. So we're going to take a screwdriver and take off the little clippy-doo. And here I'm showing you what I done. Just took a little small screwdriver, took that off, and set it to the side and use for another day maybe. And this little truck ornament I'm showing you the picture frame will sit either way, which I don't end up using that option. And the hindsight is 2020, as you'll notice. I end up painting the frame black with the ink chalk paint, and end up putting a base on the bottom, which is one of the little palette pieces or slat pieces that you get in like a pack of 6 from the Dollar Tree. End up painting it. Oh, and this is the twine that I found at the Dollar Tree. It's two blues and a red, I think. And a big needle that I had for years. I don't even know where it came from. And I had strung up some of the little vase fillers. This was so cute. And I used some of the white ones and some of the silver and a little pattern. And, it's really like you can get your pattern figured out before you start stringing these, because these are foam balls. So it's not a wise idea to be taking them off, on and off, on and off. Yeah, I've done that a couple times, and yeah, I wasted several, but I mean, yeah, to get your pattern figured out. And if I would have laid them down and figured out my pattern first and then went back, that would have been a smarter idea. And then I'm going to hot glue that to the frame before I paint it. And I should have done it after I painted it. But that's okay. It's kind of crafting as I go here. And this is some more chalk paint. And you'll notice I end up painting that section. But I go back in with some brown chalk paint and go back over that. I think it is walnut is the color that I go back over the little part underneath the Christmas tree, which is like the little top of the bed. Sorry guys, my throat is like, my sinuses are draining and really starting to get a scratchy throat. I'm just making sure that it's gonna fit in there nicely, which I already knew it did. I guess I just want to kind of see what it's gonna look like against it. And I'm thinking this is Laguna, the blue color. It's like an aqua blue. It's really pretty. And then I took the moss chalk paint and went over it. And here I'm going over it with a darker green chalk paint. I think it's called macchiata, I think. Anyway, it's the darker green chalk paint. And then I go in with a celery also and do some dimensions, kind of give it some color variation, because you've got this really nice detailed truck, and then yeah, you got this little plain one-dimensional tree. So I try to give it some dimensions, and here I am doing the tires in the ink, and I mixed up a little bit of gray, black and white paint to make gray. And here I'm going up with the moss. And y'all, I found some white puffy paint the other day at the Dollar Tree. And so I think I'd go over it a little bit with white paint too, but to just kind of give it some snowy look. But I love the way it looks so cute with the little the puffy paint. Makes it like, gives it so much more dimension. I wish I kind of would have put a little glitter on it. I think that would have been really cute. Give it like a glistening look. Kind of do the top of the tree and the back of the bed and the fender wheel of the like this little side rail thing, or I think that's what that's supposed to be down at the bottom. And then I'm going back in with some white. Now I'm going to glue this on, and like I said, I should have went and painted first, but I wasn't. My oldest son came out to the garage and needed something, and he's like, well, why didn't you paint that black, and why didn't you put a base on it? Because you've got, like, I had some of those little, I don't know what you'd call them, little boards sitting over to the side, and he's like, why don't you use that? So he was really creative. I was really proud of him. And then glue that on, and we'll trim down the little twine. And I also take off the back of the picture frame, and it just snaps off really easy. Now the clip that's on that doesn't come off quite as easy for me. I mean, it may for some people, but I just left it on. It's fine. And I'll point that out in a minute. And I'm trying to find my placement to see where I want it. And that looks so cute. I love it. And then I kind of mashed, once the glue had dried enough, I kind of mashed down the twine in the glue so it would be really in there. And I don't know why I'm going back over the tree again. I think I touched it. And I'm using my little hair drying tool. And then I'm going to glue this down. And, you can make sure that you get on one of the bumped out parts of that metal frame, or the metal insert into the frame. And I glued mine all the way over to the side. That way it's not centered, but it covers up that hole. So I wasn't really worried about it being centered, or as long as that hole, I didn't want to have to mess with putting anything in it, painting it, messing with the hole. So that way I could cover that hole and not worry about it. And I might end up going in later and putting a little wreath on the front of it, so it would work out perfect. Okay, so we're taking I found the little board, and like these come in two different sizes. I think they come in a square one, and then the long one like this. Took it, and sorry guys, I swapped camera angles. Put a base coat and dried it up really good. Trying to get glitter off. Glitter, there was a little bit of glitter on that from that other thing that we had done, the other project. And I do have a little problem with trying to get this, and I ended up I'd found one of those little rubber thingies from the Dollar Tree to get glue up, and I ended up having to work with this for quite a minute. So trying to get that hot glue off the front and I just ended up getting it off the best I could and going back over it with the ink chalk paint. Oh yeah, I ended up picking off all that glitter, or all the glue off the bottom, because when I reattach this, I want to make sure that it sits level. Oh, also, I took 2 of the tumbling tower blocks and put on the back side of this. Not that it wouldn't sit down nice, whatever. I just wanted to make sure it was nice and stable. So I'm going to show you the back here in a second, after I get done picking at some glue. Here's the back. There's the, and I distressed it in blue also. So there's 2 of the tumbling tower blocks, and I show you where I pulled off the back of the frame. And how you probably can get some pliers and try to pull that on off. But, I mean, for me, I'm not worried about it. I think it looks just fine like that, because this is the back. I'm showing you that. Just pulled that right off. And here we go. So, everybody like this video, would you please like, share, and comment? Thank you so much for watching. Thank you. Like I said again, this is a collab.